Year 2 of Destiny 2 has just been revealed. What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So of course Bungie had their live reveal for the new DLC for Destiny 2. Of course this is the Forsaken expansion. We learned a whole bunch about the DLC in Bungie's stream, but before we get into any of the details, check out this short teaser.
We're building something the community has been asking for.
We want to be able to give players what they want, but also surprise them.
We want this release to have a different tone and a different vibe.
You're going to a darker place. You're going to take on a different role as a Guardian.
We're changing the weapon slots. We're changing how the pursuits work.
Gambit is a brand new mode.
Armor perks, random rolls, new mod system, new subclass paths.
We're making Forsaken for people who love Destiny.
Making a game that we can all love. That is the goal. That's what we're going to constantly be pushing towards.
Everything we're building is through that lens.
So obviously pretty cool stuff, pretty exciting looking stuff. To break everything down, the first thing we see is the new space on the Reef. This is actually called the Tangled Shore, and this has been taken over by a bunch of different types of enemies. There is actually a new enemy type in the DLC called the Scorn. So we can certainly expect to see some new types of enemies with new abilities and things like that, some of which we can see right here. And these are going to feature in an important new game mode, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But looking at some of the footage right here, we can see a new exotic called the Twin Rabbit. This is a rocket launcher. It says that it shoots 2 tracking rockets, 1 void and 1 solar. The void rocket suppresses and the solar rocket causes damage over time, which is pretty interesting. There's also an exotic sword in there as well. We can see some other legendary weapons, but they actually talk about a new weapon system, which is pretty interesting. We don't have all of the details on it just yet, but essentially it will allow us to equip any weapon in any slot. So you could run around with, your 2 primaries, kind of like we have now, or you could go with 3 shotguns. That also means you could put shotguns or snipers into your secondary slot. Literally, the choice is yours as a player, which is pretty interesting. Obviously, there will be a bunch of sandbox ammo stuff to look at here, and Bungie will have to give us more details. So that kind of is looking like their new weapon slot system. On top of this, they have also spoken about randomization. They didn't give us too many details, but they say that every weapon that drops will have the potential to be new and exciting. They did actually refer to it as random rolls as well, but we will have to get more details later. Some of what we're seeing here, though, is going to be some of the new gear. We see some interesting new weapons and armor, of course. Next, though, they actually talk about new supers, so not necessarily new subclasses, but supers for existing classes, presumably. We see the fire knives right here, and this is a hunter class that can obviously throw solar knives. There's almost a new version of the Titan hammer. This is more akin to the kind of iron axe that we had in Rise of Iron. There's an arc subclass for the warlock that allows them to teleport, which is pretty cool. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if Bungie give us more details on subclasses and changes soon, but of course we do have E3 coming up very shortly. On the subject of weapons and stuff though, one to point out is that they've actually brought bows to Destiny 2, and we can see a viced bow right here. Interesting reticle and stuff like that. We can't really tell if it's exotic, but yeah, bows and arrows finally coming to Destiny 2.
We also wanted a new weapon type that felt meaningful, so we came up with a bow and arrow, which seems kind of crazy, but when you use it, you feel like godlike.
It is utilitarian, it's fantastical, it's also sci-fi.
So we have a short range bow, we have a medium range bow, we have a long range bow. But we built this guy, which is like supposed to be super techie.
You're like, why would you ever choose a bow in a game that has an automatic, machine gun? But boy, it's deadly.
I mean, that's a nice machine gun you got there, buddy, but right, and then it's done.
Next, though, they talk about the new game mode. This is called Gambit. It will be a combination of PvE and PvP, which is pretty interesting. Essentially, you score by collecting motes dropped from enemies in an arena, but you'll be scoring against another team in a kind of parallel realm. You will have the opportunity to halt and interfere with the enemy team scoring, and even the opportunity to assault the enemy team themselves. So check out this section from the Bungie vid arc.
Destiny begs to marry PvE and PvP together.
It's like adding bacon to peanut butter and jelly.
You start off being able to see the other team that you're going to compete against, so you can taunt each other, you can emote.
Each team is in their own separate arena, and they're being assaulted by combatants.
They're dropping motes for you to collect, you bank them.
When you put them in your bank, you're going to send a blocker over to the other side that locks their bank down. They can't put moats into it until they take out that blocker. Filling up your bank with the moats is how you summon your primeval. You burn it down, that's it, round's over. The interesting part is that we allow one person from your team to go over to the other side and physically invade. I mean, I've seen people that just hate PvP. Like, the first time they invade and they get multiple kills, they'll come back and they'll be like, suck it! It's awesome.
So I think Gambit is looking very, very interesting. We'll have to see how they combine those two different types of mode, but I think it's pretty exciting looking stuff. We can also, of course, expect there to be a bunch of new gear. They also added that this mode will be kind of seated in its own place in the director, so you have Strikes, Crucible, and then Gambit will have its own spot. So presumably there may be different versions of this as well. Next, they talk about the Dreaming City. This is actually going to be a very interesting space. They say that this is the Awoken homeland, which is pretty cool, and it will be a new endgame space that will also house the new raid. On the subject of the raid, of course, they didn't say too much, but they said that they've added more bosses to this raid than they have before, and it's going to be packed with secrets. On top of this though, the Dreaming City is a combination of different endgame spaces. You do have the raid there, but they say that there will be other pursuits and reasons to go to that space, secrets and things like that. So a patrollable space that is also the space which houses the raid is going to be pretty interesting. I can't wait to get more details on that. On top of this, they will be releasing a new annual pass alongside this DLC, and this will have different smaller releases of content that we'll get down the road. It's a new type of content delivery that Bungie are trying out, and what they're going to do is essentially update power level and introduce new gear, endgame challenges, new and returning exotics, weapons, armor, vanity items, even activities and lore stuff. So we can see that in the winter of 2018, there will be an update called the Black Armory. In spring of 2019, we have the Joker's Wild, and then in the summer we have Penumbra. And like I say, this will bring different types of content, smaller than major DLCs, but essentially I think this is what they're trying to do to kind of fill out time and deliver content. This almost certainly means as well that we'll be seeing the 4th expansion 1 year after what we get in September. However, hopefully this new lineup, will help deliver content more frequently and in meaningful ways. You'll also notice the Ace of Spades hand cannon right there, which is pretty interesting. I haven't seen it in any trailers or anything like that, but in some of the pre-order descriptions they are listing an Ace of Spades last hand exotic ornament for this expansion, so we know that that exotic is going to be returning. Next though, they spoke about the roadmap, so they updated the roadmap for September. We've got gear collections, in-game triumphs, weapon slot changes, randomization, a mod system update, bulk shader deletion is finally coming, new Crucible mode, 4 new Crucible maps, 200 additional vault slots, in-game lore, new bounties, and power matters in the Iron Banner and Trials, so that is coming back as well. So that's going to be pretty huge. On top of this though, July 17th is when we'll get the summer update with the Solstice of Heroes seasonal event. 6v6 is coming to quick play permanently. On top of this, a permanent Rumble playlist, bounties, expansion 1 and 2 prestige raid layers, PC clan text chat, triumphs, and exotic armor sandbox changes. So plenty of exciting stuff coming down the road there. In the reveal though, they did show us new collections and triumphs, so we can see the triumphs tab right here. And basically this is a work in progress build, but they will have a bunch of different objectives. You can see here that there are ones for the Gambit game mode. There's also the exotic collection. You can see all the exotics you currently own. Anything that you don't own will be marked as unknown, so they don't actually give you a kind of notification of what you don't have, but you will know that there is one missing. We can also see that we have exotics, weapons, armor, ghosts, vehicles, and flares inside of this new collection. So obviously that's going to improve some of the quality of life side of the game. But guys, that is the kind of first quick breakdown of what Bungie showed us today. A lot of very exciting stuff. I will have more news about this to come, but if you have enjoyed this video, a like is very much appreciated below. Let me know what you're excited for. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. For now though, whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.
We're building something the community has been asking for.
We want to be able to give players what they want, but also surprise them.
We want this release to have a different tone and a different vibe.
You're going to a darker place. You're going to take on a different role as a Guardian.
We're changing the weapon slides. We're changing how the pursuits work.
Gambit is a brand new mode.
Armor perks, random rolls, new mod system, new subclass paths.
We're making Forsaken for people who love Destiny.
making a game that we can all love. That is the goal. That's what we're going to constantly be pushing towards.
Everything we're building is through that lens.